Be more positive. Be a positive thinking individual. Hello, I am the Sussman, Rick Sussman. This is the next chapter of Sussing It Out with said Sussman, Rick Sussman. Still the Joker face, of course. Still in the Fortress of Nerditude. So, yesterday, I had a pretty interesting conversation with my boss, who's also a friend, and that's fortunate for me. I'm very lucky to have such things. It's good to have a boss who's also a friend, I feel, because you guys can pal around and you can hang out, but especially if you have a really good boss, when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, when it gets down to things that really have to be talked about and discussed and things like that, you don't have to worry about a lot of BS. The guy can just sit down and talk to you man to man. Yesterday, just because it was a day that ends in Y, my boss decided that we needed to have a little mini chat about something that he had remembered me saying a couple of months back that he wasn't wholly impressed with as a employee of his. So we took off our friendship hats and put on our boss employee hats, and his statement was essentially, and this was not, this was actually part of a longer conversation that we were having, where he felt that I need to focus more on being a positive person. Well, there's a lot of truth there. I had been, for a very long time, a very positive individual. At one point, somebody referred to me as the mascot of our store because I was always so happy and so gleeful and so genuinely pleased to be at work. Now, I still very much am. I would rather work nowhere else currently. Money could always be better, but in what job can you not say that? I get to go to a comic book store and work at a comic book store every day. That's not really working. That's living a great life. So I'm really happy about that. But the statement was made, and it's arguably a correct one. So, a little bit of backstory for those of you who may not know. Maybe you just started subscribing, maybe you don't read my blog, whatever. This is a vlog, after all, not a blog, so different. Many years ago, I had been working at this law firm, and I was making incredibly good money. But I gave it all up. I gave it all up because I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. And though I did eventually get the job at the comic book store, there was a little bit of in-between time where I wasn't working anywhere in particular. And then I got this gig working at this really awesome craft store for a little while. And I was so good that they were like, look, we're going to hire you as the ASM, assistant manager, right now. And then you're going to get your own store in like 6 months, and we're going to move you to some part of God's creation that you've never been to before, and you're going to have your own store. And this is all going to happen in 6 months. And I said, great. And then something happened, and it didn't work out. But it's fine, because it led to me getting this other gig at a movie store. And they gave me my own store, and it was right next to my home at the time, and it was great, it was awesome, and I made $1 million for that store in the course of 1 calendar year, which is crazy, because it's a DVD reseller. It's, you know, this is not exactly what you refer to as the booming marketplace right now, but I made $1 million. It went zero, and then at the end of the year it was 1,000,000 and like 200,000. I didn't get a bonus, which is unfortunate, because my bonus would have been like 10 grand minimum. Probably more. I didn't get a promotion or a raise. I was told there would be no raises, even though I just made $1 million. And at that point, that was when they moved me to a store that wasn't next to my house, but was in probably the worst part of town. And I wasn't happy there, and finally it was time, enough time had passed where there was a spot open for me, and I could go work with my friend. And that, since then, I've been relatively happy. Recently, I had an opportunity to run one of the other stores while the manager who was running that store was out sick. And it was a lot of fun to run that store, and I felt good about running the store, and I was hoping to maybe get my own. But unfortunately, that does not look to be in the cards anymore. And that's fine. At least I get to work for my buddy. Which, you know, anytime I make a sale, I think, hey, this is great. I helped out his store, and honestly, I really feel great about it. Anytime we do a really great business day, I think to myself, well, good, because this is a guy who I respect, a guy who I, quite frankly, idolize, and I always like to do good for him. But there's been a lot of setbacks. There's been a lot of setbacks, and it's made me more of a negative person, a very self-deprecating person, maybe too self-deprecating. Maybe my own defense mechanism about being defensive, about being depressive and things like that has in fact played a role in all of this. It would be silly to argue against that. But as I told him yesterday, he's right. I do need to focus more on being positive. I'm married to a wonderful woman who makes my life better every day. I've got a great set of cats. And I've got a slowly clearing up debt problem that is getting better every day. I have a lot to be happy about. I have a lot to be positive about. But it is difficult to shake that monkey off your back, that chip off your shoulder, that cliche off your cliche. And it requires friends to tell friends, yo man, you got to stop being so damn mopey all the time. Or, no one wants a salesman who's complaining about things constantly. And I don't think we have enough friends like that in our lives that are willing to sit back in the big chair and look at you and go, you're messing up. You need to fix this. You need to get better. And I think if we did have people who are more willing to do that in our lives, I don't just mean bosses, employees. I mean like fathers and sons, mothers, daughters, sons, friends, adult friends, telling other adult friends, this is why you're messing up, this is how you could improve it, do it. I've only got a few of those, because a lot of people, people avoid confrontation, but they also don't want to step on your toes. They don't want to make you feel bad. They don't want to say, dude, you could be doing so much better than this right now if you would just get your head out of your ass and quit screwing your cliches up on vlogs. But we don't have that. Our society is negligible in that. We, people, are negligible in that. We don't want to be... we don't want to be the straw, I guess. We don't want to go to our friends and say, you need to, you need to straighten your tie up. You need to cut your hair. You need to do something. Because if you are that guy who finally pushes your friend over the edge, you couldn't live with that fact. But I disagree. I disagree entirely. I say you need to be that guy. I like being told if I need to be corrected. Sometimes I don't agree. I don't agree at all. But somebody wanted to tell me that. It takes a lot of courage to walk up to a friend or an employee. Less courage if you're an employee, because you're the boss. You can get rid of them. I've been the boss on a number of occasions, and trust me, it works that way. But it does take a lot of courage to walk up to a friend and say, hey man, I'm not really digging what you're doing right now, and you need to know. A couple years back, I had a buddy of mine, one of my very close friends, who was in a really bizarre relationship. And I had to tell him, I said, dude, I am not really comfortable being your friend right now while you're in this relationship. It's a very weird relationship. I think it's toxic. And if you're in a toxic relationship, our relationship can become toxic too. So I took a step back and I let the man know, hey, I'm still your brother and we're still good friends and we're going to continue to be good friends. But for right now, not so much. And you know what? That guy is still one of my best friends. We still talk every single day. He's one of the 4 people I have on my phone that I know if I'm ever in trouble or if I'm ever bored, I can send him a text and he'll instantly respond. But I had to tell him because he was such a good friend. I had to let him know. So today we're sussing out positivity and the fact that it is difficult to be positive for someone like myself. But it is more difficult if no one tries to help me. And maybe I can take away something from my own vlog that I should be more ready to accept that kind of handout relationship. Not a handout, a hand out. Come on, let me help you. Let me tell you something. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to try and be more positive at work. I'm going to try and be more positive at home. Because moping around for 31 years hasn't really gotten me very far. So... and I'm not going to say it's going to be an overnight transition. I'm not a moron. I know these things take time. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to try really hard. And the next time my boss needs to take his friend hat off and put his boss hat on and tell me, this is where I'm screwing up, you need to do better, maybe then I'll look at that and say, well, I've got the positivity thing out of the way. Now I can focus on other stuff. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'll talk to you guys real soon. And 600. OCDs being what they are.